Hello, everybody. What's up, my little pretties? It's your mistress, the Queen of Lions here, and welcome back to another episode of Shadows and Pretties. Now, this is episode 8, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, it looks like episode 8. And I did a poll on my community tab asking what topics should I talk about next. And I had two choices, one of them being the Swan Princess or Aladdin. So, since the Swan Princess got the most votes, I will be doing a podcast video talking about the Swan Princess. Now, I am going to have like a little, what I'm going to say right now is the little spoiler alert. If you've not seen Swan Princess, I highly recommend you click off this video and check out the movie, as it's a really good tale. Even though it's a non-Disney movie and it came out the same year Lion King did, I still have to say that movie is just as good as other, non-Disney movies such as Anastasia and stuff like that, which, if you guys want me to talk about Anastasia in another video, just let me know in the comments below, and I will consider looking into the story of Anastasia, because that story is about a Russian princess, and it's based off the story, but let me, get started with the Swan Princess. Now, the Swan Princess is basically about Odette, who has the ability to change into a swan when she goes into the moonlight. So, kind of like, kind of like that. So, it's similar to, how Fiona, from Shrek, she's like human in daytime, but at night she becomes like a ogre. Yeah, it's kind of like that, except it's a little different. And I am going to talk about Shrek maybe in another episode or something like that. I will talk about Shrek. So that's going to be another story. So for those who haven't seen the Swan Princess, or for those who haven't seen the Swan Princess, I'm going to recap the movie just so you guys all get an idea. And also, if you haven't seen the Swan Princess in a long time, then this will actually refresh your memory on this. So, of course, there is like a film series of the Swan Princess, which there's so many movies. Like, the first 3 movies came out in the 90s. The first one we're talking about today came out in 1994. The sequel, Escape from Castle Mountain, came out in 1997. And the third movie, The Mysterious Enchanted Treasure, came out in 1998, which is the year I was born in. And since we have so many new movies that came out in 2012, 14, 16, 17, 18, and of course we have the 19th movie. Oh my goodness, people. Can't believe Swan Princess would be able to make so many movies after the first 3 movies. Okay, so I'm going to recap the first movie, because that's what we're going to be talking about today. I might, dive into a little bit of the sequel and a little bit of the third movie, but this is mainly, I'm mainly focusing on the first movie. So, of course, it's an animated musical fantasy film based on the ballet Swan Lake, which, of course, it features voice talents of certain people. Of course, the film is directed by a former Disney animation director, Richard Rich, which is kind of cool, if you ask me, because I'm pretty sure he did The Fox and the Hound and stuff like that, which is quite amazing, if you ask me. Now, the story itself is absolutely amazing. Even though it came out in the 90s, I'm sure if most kids in the 90s probably have seen this movie as a kid, and probably don't remember it being like a non-Disney movie, which is... It's kind of like reminds me of a Disney movie, because, how everything plays out. Basically Odette falling in love with Derek and stuff like that, which I will be getting to. Before I recap the movie, I'm just going to say, if you haven't seen Swan Princess, highly recommend you check it out. So, and of course, it was released in theaters of November 18th, 1994, or received mixed reviews from critics, with a gross around almost $10 million against the $21 million budget, becoming a huge financial disappointment, partly due to struggling competition with the re-release of the Lion King movie that came out of the same year. So the film would later become popular throughout home video releases, and has been followed to 8 direct-to-video sequels, which is quite something if you ask me. And this is the only film of the series to have a wide theatrical release, which obviously the first movie only has, a theatrical, only been released in theaters, the first one. Now, with that said, we're going to begin with the plot for those who, haven't seen the movie in a long time and will probably want to recap. Here's what I'm going to say. So, of course, King William's Count Chancellor Sir Rothbart, who plans to take over King William's kingdom for himself by mastering the type of dark magic known as the Forbidden Arts. But, however, Rothbart was arrested before he could strike, and despite calls for his death, King William spares Rothbart's life, but of course he banishes him forever. So of course Rothbart swears revenge on the king and tells him that one day he'll get his power back and take everything William owns and loves. So of course, but he's banished to the evil and dangerous Swan Lake, which makes him his home. So King William and his friend Queen Uberta have their children Derek and Odette meet every summer, hoping that they would fall in love and marry and uniting the two kingdoms. Of course, the royal children had immediate dislikes to each other, but as years passed, they reformed and they gradually fall in love. However, Derek only expresses his love for Odette's beauty, and she and her father were disappointed. So, however, what this is about is that, Derek loves Odette for her beauty and that, but of course, Odette and Derek have to look beyond the beauty that they've seen. Now, of course, however, Odette and King William were ambushed by Rothbart, and of course transforms into a great animal, and of course kidnapping Odette, and he injures William. So Derek, however, arrives at the scene, and William tells him that the great animal is not what he seems, and of course he thought that Odette was gone. But, however, the entire kingdom thinks that she is dead. Uberta encourages her son to find another princess, but, however, Derek does not want to do that. Now, if you see my review on the Swan Princess movie, I kind of went into too much detail, or maybe I left something out. But, with this, I'm kind of explaining more just so you guys will understand more. So, Derek, however, is believing that she is alive, and his best friend Bromley practice hunting every day in preparation to face the great animal with the help of, Uberta's valet, Lord Rogers. So, of course, elsewhere, Rothbart is keeping Odette captive at Swan Lake, and since he casts a powerful spell that turns Odette into a swan during the day, and at night she'd become human temporarily if she's on the Swan Lake when the moonlight touches it. Every time Rothbart asks Odette to marry him so he could rule William's kingdom, but of course she refuses. And of course she turns back into a swan, and during her captivity, she's been best friends with a turtle named Speed, a frog named Gene Bob, and even who claims to be a prince, and then a puffin named Puffin in general. So, of course, they decide to fly together to find Derek, and upon seeing Derek in the woods, but of course Derek almost kills Odette, thinking that the great animal was the swan. But of course, when he witnessed Odette's change from the swan form to the human man when the moon rises, and of course Rick was told to Odette to get out of there before Rothbart shows up. But however, in this, what we see right here is that Odette tells Derek to break the spell. He must make the vow of everlasting love and prove it to the world. So, of course, Derek invites Odette to the ball in the castle the following night, hoping to declare the world of his love for her. So, Derek just leaves as Rothbart arrives, doesn't know the enchanter heard the conversation. So, he tells Odette, Rothbart does, that she'll never be able to make it to the ball and that there'll be no room on that night. No moon on that night. So, further, Rothbart transforms into his cheerful hag sidekick Bridget to turn into Odette, a shapeshift form. And of course, Derek made this vow to the wrong woman. So at Swan Lake, they were able to free Odette from the dungeon, Odette's friends by two hungry alligators. So she flies to the castle, but it is too late. And as Derek makes the wrong vow to the wrong girl, and Rothbart busts in, revealing to Derek that is fake true form. Realizing the mistake, of course, Derek races after Odette back to Swan Lake, where she finally transformed back into her human form. Of course, she ends up dying in his arms, but of course, she tells him that she loves him before she passes away. So Derek confronts Rothbart, demanding to undo the spell, and Rothbart transforms into a great animal and says to Derek that if he defeats him, then basically the spell would be broken. So of course, Derek was fighting the great animal, and however, the arrow catches the fire, and of course gets into the great animal's heart and ends up killing him. So of course, Derek confesses his love to Odette, even though he's sad about it, and then the spell was broken, but of course, Odette's alive. So they do get married, and they basically move on to the castle together, and they basically live happily ever after. Now, that was just a recap of the Swan Princess movie. If you guys, wanted to get, a little recap of the movie, because you haven't seen it in a while, then yeah, that was just a recap. Now, the production was recently, having previously directed The Fox and the Hound and The Black Cauldron, and with Disney Animation, Richard Rich was slated to be a co-director for Oliver and Company until he was fired by Disney feature animation president, by Peter. Following this, he ended up moving on to his other stuff. So he starts doing more stuff. So I basically really liked the movie, and if you guys saw the review, go right ahead. Now, of course, this movie was really, really amazing, and it was like a really great movie. Now, basically the moral of the story was because, just because Derek loves Odette for her beauty, but that doesn't mean he doesn't love her besides that. He loves her, everything about Odette, but he has to look past the beauty to find out why his heart is truly with her in there. So, of course, Odette's facing the problem because, Rothbart is trying to propose to Odette when Odette doesn't want to. Just like with some people, want to get proposed to somebody that they love, they want to do that. But for people to propose to people they love and the other person doesn't want to, they basically, shoes about. So, basically, Rothbart is the main shadow that is, around, Odette. He's spying on her. He's, wanting to be with her and stuff like that, even though he asks her if she loves him, and she refuses. Kind of reminds me of Bride of Discord a little bit, because, every night before Fluttershy heads to bed, Discord would ask her if she loves him, and of course she mainly said no, but she eventually came around and made up for it, so yeah. But in this, however, with Derek, Odette really loves Derek in more ways than I can count. I can definitely say right now is that, here's something I'm going to be honest right here, is that Derek is one of the Odette is one of the pretties that Derek really loved because she was pretty and really kind and stuff. So besides the beauty that he looked past, he's seeing that Odette is a really nice person and stuff like that. Now, I can really understand, marrying somebody that she doesn't even know, like Rothbart. That is really, kind of weird. It's kind of weird to be married to somebody who you never met before. So it's kind of really obvious. Now, so far as I know, it's not based on the true story of it, but I don't even know if there's a dark origin of the Swan Princess. But, I have a feeling this was just like an original movie or something like that. But I can definitely say right now that, I don't know if there's a dark original fairy tale into it, but of course this movie is based on the ballet Swan Lake, which is kind of interesting if you ask me. It's like a really good concept to it. Now, when you look at, Escape from Castle Mountain of the Swan Princess, you'll mainly see that it's a sequel to their first Swan Princess. And of course, it follows a year after their wedding. Of course, they came across a wizard named Clavius who wants to regain the forbidden arts to destroy happiness. So, I know I'm just gonna, I know I'm just going over my mind on this, but I'm just, explaining about the second movie. Now, the second movie is quite almost the same as the first one. But there are a few things like, except, when it's revolving around Derek's mom's birthday. And of course, Derek's mom gets kidnapped by Clavius. And of course, Clavius gets the orb when basically Odette's friends at Bridget ended up turning Odette into a swan so she can go warn Derek about, Clavius's trap and stuff. So, the second movie, I actually found this one to be a good sequel. Now, I have not reviewed this movie yet, but I may consider it. But I am not going to go into too much in the detail of the second movie, but I could definitely say, when the moon rises on Odette, so Odette turns back to human, and of course, that was when Jean Bob is killed when he was thrown off, when Clavius tries to kill Derek. But of course, Jean Bob sacrifices his life to save Derek. But of course, Odette revives Jean Bob. Now, like I said, I'm not going too much into detail of the second movie. But I could definitely say, for those who haven't seen the second movie in a while or something, I might make a separate video, talking about the sequel. But, I guess I could say Clavius kind of reminds me of Rolfbart a little bit because, even though there were a few flaws in the movie, I could definitely say that it was, like, really, really interesting if you ask me. Like, it's a really, really good concept in a matter of way, with the production. Now, this one seems to come out almost a couple years later after the first movie, and of course, this movie was just absolutely amazing. Like, the second movie was just pretty good. And now we have the third movie that came out in 1998, at least a year after the sequel came out. Now, I'm not going to get into too much in the detail of this, but, I'm not going to get into too much in the detail of the third movie either, but, of course, it's just basically about Derek and Odette prepares for festival days when evil sorceress Zelda plots to reclaim Rolfbart's notes. And of course, she just thinks that the notes still exist. So she captures a wakey bird named Whizzer. And of course, she tries to just like always, she's trying to, get her way, just like Rolfbart did and Clavius. But even though I have not seen it, but still. So of course, Zelda finds Odette, and of course, eventually kidnaps Odette. So of course, Derek and her friends have to save Odette. So of course, like always, Zelda has transformed Odette into a swan and imprisons her and Jean Bob in some dome of green fire that would destroy them if they touch it. So of course, when Derek arrives at the meeting place to pay the ransom, however, Zelda tricks Derek into leaning his guard down by disguising herself as Odette and snatches the final piece. So, of course, she tries to destroy Odette. So when the Puff and the others got up to race to Zelda's lair, they free Odette and Jean Bob as Zelda was busy absorbing the power to destroy. So, of course, Zelda destroys the Seeker and casts it on Odette. So, of course, with Puffin flying away to attempt to escape, Wizard distracts Zelda by imitating Rolfbart's voice, allowing, Derek to snap her one into two. So, later on in the film, we do see, it's kind of like something. So, of course, Puffin returns to the lair and tells Derek that, Odette was killed by a Seeker. So, Derek, being heartbroken, sobs and thinks that, apologies to Odette. Of course, Odette materializes, returns to life, and of course, she comes back to life. So, just like with the first movie, Odette dies, in the third movie, but she comes back to life. Just like the just like the first Swan Princess movie did. So I just thought, just to kind of, make it good. And, the third movie, from what I heard, was pretty cool. So I might actually consider seeing the third movie, but, I haven't seen it yet, so I don't really know too much for sure. But I can definitely say the movie itself was actually pretty interesting. Like, the fact that the movie was originally released, it was a few days before my birthday, because it came out in 1998. That movie came out at least a few days before this movie came out a few days before my birthday. So that's actually quite something if you ask me. So like this movie is like 22 years old. I still really enjoyed the Swan Princess series. Now, I've not seen the other ones yet. I only saw the first two, and I obviously love the first two. And I will consider probably watching the third movie when I get a chance. Now, I guess I kind of, so the shadows of this is basically Clavius, Zelda, and even Rolfbard and some other villains. Now, the Pretties in this we see is, the good guys as usual. But, some good guys are in their shadows areas as well. So, just thought, I pointed out in case if you all wanted to know. Alright, I'm going to wrap up this episode because this episode, as long as it is, I'm going to be completely honest now. What did you all think about this podcast? Did you all enjoy it? Did you not? Also, what we have done personally to help make it better? Or let me know what your thoughts are on the story. Did you enjoy it? Did you not? What did you not like about the Swan Princess? What you did like about it? Let me know what your thoughts are down in the comment section down below. I'm the Queen of Lions. Thank you so much for watching today's episode of Shadows and Pretties. If you're brand new here to this channel, be sure to like, comment, subscribe because I make brand new videos every single day. Don't forget to ring the notification bell to when I upload so you guys will not miss an upload. And like always, I'll be seeing you all in the next video. Peace out.